Welcome to today's web conference, New Modern Collaboration Investments with Skype for Business. I'd like to turn it over to your first presenter, Michael Pensaroli, National PTS for Microsoft. Michael, you now have the floor.
Well, thank you, Kim, and good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're coming from in the United States, and welcome to our December Office 365 community call on New Modern Collaboration Investments with Skype for Business. And last month we presented on all of the E5 capabilities, and there was such great interest and questions. And so based upon that feedback, this month we're going to focus all of our time on the modern collaboration capabilities. We're going to take a look at each one of the three capabilities. We're going to help you identify opportunities and touch on some licensing. And with us today we have some great presenters, Jenny Woodbury and Skip Chilcott. And they're from the US Skype for Business partner marketing team. And we also have some experts behind the scenes that will be answering your questions in the messaging window. We have Holly Henson and also Mark Brunell. They are business development managers for Skype for Business, and they are the partner landing leads. We also have Amanda Hill from the National PTS team who will be working behind the scenes as well. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Skip. Skip, thanks so much for joining us today.
All right. Thank you, Michael, and welcome, everyone. Today we're going to really kind of talk in more detail about Skype for Business, and along with my colleague Jenny Woodbury. So with that, we wanted to jump in. Last month we talked about kind of an overview of the new E5 suite, of which Skype for Business is a key component of. Today we're just going to focus really on Skype for Business, and so we're going to go one level deeper. So with that, why don't we just kind of jump in. We're going to talk about the new features of Skype for Business online and part of Office 365, Cloud PBX with our PSTN calling service, and PSTN Conferencing as an additional feature as well. How to identify those opportunities, and a little bit about deeper dive into licensing and some offers and resources that are available to you as well. All right, so with that, let's kind of jump in. One of the key investment areas, as everybody knows, is group collaboration, and supporting that as online meetings. So really, Office 365 is really built for teams and networks at its core, and Skype meetings is a big part of that. So we have some, we've had this service in Office 365 for a while. However, it has not been as feature-rich as the on-premise server version, and so we're really excited to have a bunch of these features come into the online service to really enhance the meeting solution to be really a complete meeting solution as a single platform. And so on the right side, really the three main new areas are PSTN Conferencing. And this has really been something we've had for a couple of years through third-party solutions, where you can add on an audio conferencing provider. There's been 3 choices for the past couple of years. However, the feedback from customers is that we really want a 4th choice, which is Microsoft, as a single bill, single experience, single platform technology, versus trying to make things work together and have different points of contact if there's an issue or a technology problem. So we're super excited to bring that to market. So Microsoft you can kind of consider it as the 4th provider of audio conferencing dial-in service for an online meeting. And customers can either select Microsoft native service, and if they don't want to do that and want to continue to use a third-party provider, those choices will continue to exist as well. The second one is Skype Meeting Broadcast, and this is something that is been in development for a super long time. We're really excited about it. The ability to take a Skype meeting and broadcast it to up to 10,000 people at one time. This is part of the core Skype for Business Online service, so it's part of E1, E3, and E5. And basically it enables you to take your normal Skype interface as a presenter, but on the other end, watch it as a streaming video, very similar to how you're all viewing this today. It's just a little bit different technology. It's the same technology that's used to broadcast and stream the Olympics, so it's extremely scalable. It's been tried, tested, and proved at massive scale, and so now we start to bring that into the meeting experience as well. And then the other one is Skype room systems. These will continue on, previously known as the link room systems, been rebranded, and the technology has actually been updated, so link room systems can get an update. It's now a Skype room system, as well as the new Surface Hub. Surface Hub is coming to market as we speak, and there is native integration with Skype on the Surface Hub with a special version of Skype for Business built in for that different environment where you're standing in front of a large board on the wall using touch. So really excited about that as well. So let's talk about PSTN Conferencing. Again, this is a native service provided by Microsoft, and this is really the ability to take a meeting and add a dial-in component to that meeting. This is something we've had in the premise Skype for Business server and Link server for many years. However, it did put the burden on the customer to actually bring that dial-in line or that SIP trunk right into the server to provide that to their users. It's incredibly valuable from that perspective, but in the online service, it's been a gap as a Microsoft native service. So we're able to bring that in. And so once enabled, and I'll demonstrate this in a little while, but once that's enabled, the dial-in numbers simply appear on the invitations. Very straightforward. The user really doesn't have to do anything. From an administration perspective, it's really a simple thing to enable. And then at the same time, if you ever have the need to dial out and pick somebody up and bring them into the conference, maybe they're on a cell phone or a home phone, or maybe you're accessing a meeting where you're in a small meeting room and there's a phone there, and you have poor, cell phone service or connectivity, you can actually have it dial you out at any phone number. And so that's been around for the server for a long time as well. So now that comes into the online service. Okay, so how will that actually kind of work? Well, we're going to get into the details of that, but essentially there are phone numbers in and around the United States that there's essentially 4 or 5 different locations, and so users can choose whichever location is closest to them. So if it's LA, New York, Chicago, or what have you. And then there are also dial-in services from other countries where they can access a local number and it'll carry it through right into the meeting in the United States. Okay, that's kind of how it basically works like any other dial-in service. Okay, so let's talk about calling and the Cloud PBX. So Cloud PBX is the equivalent of, if we think about it as an on-premise world in the servers, it's the equivalent of what was known as the Skype for Business server or Link server plus Cal. So this is the ability to manage phone calls and call routing, call management, call control, the PBX type functionality, right? Put it on hold, transfer it to somebody else, move it to voicemail, forward it, simultaneous ring. So think of it as the call manager. So, how is it different? Really, it's been an on-premise thing for many, many, many years. This is the PBX replacement scenario. So as PBXs become aging, or they go out of support, service, or customers really ready to move off of a hardware type investment to a more of a subscription type as a cloud service, really been something they've wanted to do for a long time, but it's been very difficult to do it. And so we're really happy to bring this into as a native service in Office 365 as well. Now, it's going to start out as a basic set of features that'll meet the needs of most knowledge and information workers. This is kind of the person sitting at a desk using basic telephone features. Advanced functionality similar to contact centers or hunt groups and common area phones and all the different really kind of specific things a PBX will do. Some of those features may come out over time, but it is absolutely our goal to make the cloud service feature compatibility or feature comparable with our on-premise server. But that's going to take another year or so. So by 2017, we should have that available. This really enables it to be a single platform in the cloud for all meeting and calling needs. and again, to really realize that with a complete feature-rich solution will take some time. But it'll meet the needs of most information workers. We think about 75% to 80% of the information workers out there will be able to use this at cloud service. Okay, so we'll talk about what is some of that roadmap look like in the future. You can think about this center section as where we are today. So with the release of this in the past couple of days, you can now make and receive calls. You can put them on hold. You can retrieve them. You can transfer them. You can get those calls on mobile, PC, or browser clients. You can do call forwarding. The service comes with its own native voicemail capability, so you don't have to use Exchange Unified Messaging. Simultaneous ring to ring two devices at once. Call delegation, have that ring to somebody else. Team calling, and basic auto attendant services. It also comes with a static E911 capability, as well as native integration with IP desk phones. And our hardware partners, specifically from Polycom, do have IP desk phones that will log themselves straight into the online service as a native function. So very similar to how users are used to doing it with an on-premise server up to this point. Some of the things in the future involve response groups, group call pickup. You know, if a phone rings on if a call rings on 5 different phones, whoever picks it up first gets the call. That type of thing. Specific voice feature controls. Numbers that are unassigned to a person, they're assigned to like a common area or a lobby or something like that. That's kind of where that comes in. And then the future of 911 for as a cloud service, which is rather complex, which is dynamic enhanced 911. So the difference between static and enhanced 911 is pretty important. 911 service is obviously something that has to be there. Static 911 means that you're going to assign a physical address to a person. And then if they happen to access the service from another location, we won't know that. But you have to assign a physical desk location, a physical mailing address to everybody in some fashion. In dynamic, it actually figures out where you are based on the network connectivity that you have and the IP address that you have. So important for the future. As a cloud service, you might understand how complicated that might be. But at any rate, if anybody dials 911, there is an operator that will intercept that call before it gets to the 911 operator, and that person will actually figure out exactly the location that they're standing in or calling from, whether it might be a hotel in another city or what have you, and then they'll delegate that call to the appropriate 911 operator where that person is actually physically located at that time. So super important to make sure we clarify that, but 911 service is there, and it meets all the regulatory requirements. So, today we're cloud first, or we want to be cloud first for most users. However, we want to be cloud service for all users by 2017. Okay, so what's new with the calling? Basically, and I'll do a demonstration of this in just a moment, but there is an online user interface inside of Office 365 where it allows you to assign numbers, phone numbers, to individual users. And those phone numbers are available from Microsoft as a telecommunications provider. So if you have users and that don't need, it's not necessary to keep their old telephone numbers, you can assign numbers straight from Microsoft. You can grab those as a pool of numbers and then assign them out to individual users. And you can select a lot of different city locations and where those numbers are based. We don't have every city, but we have quite a few, and that number grows all the time. Okay, this is a US-based service for this, so it's US numbers only. And however, since it's a cloud, those numbers can really ring anywhere. But they are US telephone numbers. The other option is that you can reuse existing phone numbers. So if an organization wants to continue to use the phone numbers they have, they can actually port those phone numbers over to Microsoft in an automated way. And it's very similar to moving a telephone number from one cell phone carrier to another if you decide to switch carriers. In the case of a business or a company or an organization, they would actually be switching carriers from one carrier to the other, and the destination carrier is Microsoft. So that's kind of how that works. Then the other thing is users, organizations will select either a domestic or an international dialing plan. Domestic is just exactly what it says. It's the ability to make and receive calls within the United States, or I should say just make calls within the United States. If somebody wants to dial a phone number from another country, that's perfectly fine. It's just a very long distance call. We also have an international dialing plan that allows users to call internationally. They're different rate plans, so they carry different rate models, but essentially it's domestic or international. If you do the international plan, domestic is included. So that's kind of how that will work. The other aspect is, how does this work if somebody has a existing telephone contract with a carrier, and that contract goes on for several years? What are we going to do about that? They can't get out of that contract, but they want to use this service. We have a model that enables that as well. This really starts to bring the Office 365 hybrid discussion really into the forefront, where you use the cloud PBX service that we have, but you're going to go ahead and not use our calling plans. You're going to use an on-premise connection with an existing calling plan from an existing telephone carrier. Basically, you stand up a Skype for Business server on-premise and you connect it with our cloud. So the call management's in the cloud, but the moment you need to make a telephone call, it's actually going to route it back to your premises, to the customer's premises, which is connected to an existing telecommunications carrier. There's two models for the hybrid, and I don't want to get into all the details for that, but you can use either Skype for Business server implementation that you already have, or you will be able to use a very small footprint of the Skype for Business server that we're calling Cloud Connection, the Cloud Connector Edition. And that Cloud Connector Edition is very basic. It literally, all it does is connect to the carrier. But if you want to do anything in addition to that, connect it to a PBX and take advantage of some other functionality with call centers, contact centers, things of that nature that are already there, then you'll need a full-blown Skype for Business implementation on-premise to take advantage of a lot of the connectivity services, APIs, and other things that are available to PBX systems. So, as you might expect, that conversation is a very deep conversation, and we have, lots and lots and lots of technical information on how to make that happen. But it's actually it's very doable today. We have about 50 existing customers that are running that in an advanced preview program, and Microsoft is running that environment today with about 30,000 users in the cloud and the rest on premises. So it's one calling plan from Office 365 for domestic and international, using your existing phone numbers or new phone numbers, depending on what the customer situation is. All right, so we talked about emergency services. I talked about it ahead of this slide, but basically you just need to understand that 911 service is included. Okay, Microsoft is a regulated telecommunications carrier, the same as any other telecommunications carrier like AT&T, Verizon, Frontier. You name it, whatever carrier you have locally to yourself, Microsoft is now a telephone carrier as well. The unique part about Microsoft is actually, if you look at it, now that we're a regulated telecommunications carrier, if you include our Skype business on the consumer side, we're actually about the 4th largest telecommunications carrier in the world as of yesterday. So this is a very unique offering, and we're super proud to bring it to market. Okay, so how do we talk about identifying some opportunities? So on the opportunities, this is really about a single platform, Office 365, really offering the management and integration. Our value proposition is the same as it's always been from an on-premise perspective. It only gets better, richer, and deeper. So using your Office 365 administration, you get complete manageability and integration. The telephone calling and meetings, video conferencing, communications, messaging is all integrated into a single user experience. This typically is a very fragmented experience across organizations today. Got one system for telephones, another system for messaging, another system for video conferencing, another system for online meetings. It's a very fragmented environment. This really brings to organizations that single experience delivered as a cloud service, integrated to the Office applications they use every day. Very flexible deployment options. It's either an all cloud, all premise, or hybrid. Any of these deployment options will work. And we actually think most customers are going to wind up in a hybrid environment to begin with, and then over time be able to move more and more to the cloud. Call management and call routing, all included as integrated. And all of this available from anywhere, on any device, any platform, from nearly any location. The only thing you need is a network connection. And the unique thing is, when we say network connection, now you don't even really need an internet connection because of all the PSTN capabilities. So the telephone network is now part of that. So it's integrated and it's flexible. Okay, we talked a little bit about the premises and hybrid and online. This is just kind of a view of how to think about it and what are the components that kind of make that up. And so from a premises perspective, a lot of customers have been or are in the process of replacing their PBX systems with Skype for Business Server. And so that call management can either be all handled by the Skype for Business Server or integrated with an on-premise PBX, so they work together. And then the calling is handled at the customer's location. So that's a regulated telecommunications carrier, comes in over SIP trunks, and right into that provides their telephone connectivity. On the other side of the spectrum is a complete online. So this is a cloud PBX with PSTN calling. So you start to see how we separate call management from PSTN calling. They're separate services because they do different things. Okay, you can have calls be routed throughout an organization without any connectivity to the outside world because employees call each other all day long. This is just a new paradigm where you actually don't have to, you're making a call through Skype for Business, and it's not using the PBX, it's actually using our cloud PBX service. And then the PSTN calling is in the middle is the hybrid. This is where cloud PBX takes care of the call management in the cloud, and you're using existing on-premise telephone connectivity. And again, that is the most, we expect to be the most common, simply because customers have existing contracts that will expire at some point in the future. It could be a short-term or a long-term type of thing. So what's a voice opportunity look like? From a perspective of the online world, I think the on-premises world is pretty self-explanatory. We've been here for many years. Okay, but if you think about who is so we'll look at the right-hand side. If we look about who is the best online target, okay, first of all, it's US-based customers only. Okay, we are rolling this out to the rest of the world starting in 2016. That is US customers only. Okay, there is little or no customization needed by the customer. If they want to customize anything, as you know, in a cloud service, customization is relatively little. Not a lot of APIs, not a lot of customization you can do. If you need high customization, you pretty much have to use on-premises because that's where all the APIs are. Okay? A really good scenario is around branch workers and remote workers. So branch offices. Small offices are a very expensive proposition for a PBX type environment. So if you had an office of 5 people in 20 different places, you would need some sort of telephone system branch for all those 20 locations. This really provides a unique opportunity for those. The other thing is remote workers. Think about field consultants, field workers, sales, support, customer service, those types of environments where they're not tied to a large physical location. That's a really good opportunity. Here at Microsoft, if I think about the 10,000 salespeople or whatever that we have, every one of those guys works out of their house, and they go into the office every so often. Okay, so another really good way to think about that. They want typical calling features: information workers, knowledge workers. I receive a call, I make a call, I simultaneously ring a call, I forward a call, I put it on hold for a minute while I call somebody else, and then I come back and pick them back up. Very basic types of things. Okay, customers that want to move from a capital expenditure to an operations expense model. That's typical cloud economics. This really, if you think about the telephone system world, telephone systems are really, really, really expensive, and it's a capital expenditure. So it's typically a capitalized expense over 7 to 10 years because they're in the millions of dollars. Once they go, and typically they go off support before they're capitalized, so there's maintenance expenses along the way that you have to maintain in order for you to continue to operate them while you're still paying for them. So very expensive, very expensive. Customers that are moving to the cloud in multiple areas around messaging and email, websites, file access, file sync and share. This is another, customers that are already moving that direction. This is a great opportunity to start this conversation. And then customers that have PBXs that are old, aging, going out of support, and customers have a very large decision to make, which is, do I buy another one of those and capitalize it, or do I move to a different model? And so customers where their leases are up, leases are expiring, hardware is under maintenance and has been for a while, so now they have to pay very expensive maintenance and support agreements, and customers that are just on really old PBXs where they haven't wanted to deal with it for a long time. So a lot of customers in that scenario. If you think about on-premises, worldwide customers today, if there's a company that's based in the US has a large worldwide footprint, they're going to have some on-premises in lots of other areas, but in the US they could move to the cloud. So I'm not going to cover all of this in detail. You can read it for yourself, but it basically, this is if you think about how customers are moving to the cloud with email, file sync, share, and sites, and other areas, this is another one they're going to want to start that journey. So it's not going to be overnight, but we believe it'll be started, and the journey will continue. Some customers will move very fast, some will move very, very slowly. Believe it or not, in the first 2 days, we've already seen customers decide to go all in. They're typically smaller organizations, but they've decided to basically move everyone to the cloud, and they're starting to assign phone numbers to everybody and get them hooked up, and then they're going to be switching off their existing systems. Okay, so lots of great opportunity out there. All right, so let's move on, and I'm going to do a quick demonstration of how simple this is. I'm not going to demonstrate the additional opportunities that you have to do configurations with like PowerShell and those kinds of things, but there are lots of PowerShell scripting commands and control that you can do to automate some of this. One example is if you wanted to move 1,000 users at a time, you can actually port the phone numbers over, and once they're there, you can run scripts, and you can assign phone numbers to users with scripting, and it'll assign users to the tune of one of them like every 5 minutes or something, or 3 minutes, so you can actually provision 1,000 users in a matter of hours versus doing it one at a time through a manual interface. Very similar to how the other workloads work as well. What I'm going to show you today is really how simple this is to do an assignment. So some of you may have seen this before. Some of you may not have, and so that's really what it's focused on and targeted to. But if you want to try this out, you can do a trial today, and we can talk about how to get there as well. But the trial system is up and running, and you can add trials onto existing tenants. Okay, so let's make sure we can all see the demonstration. Is that still the view of the stream? Okay. All right, so let's make sure everybody can see this. We have a monitor here waiting for the stream to come through. There it is. Excellent. All right, so I have here a demonstration tenant for my favorite brewery, Tosh Creek Brewing Company. This is a typical Office 365 dashboard. You've all seen this before. If I go to, if I scroll down here into the subscriptions area, I just want to show you kind of what some of the subscriptions look like. Now, one caveat to this is this may not be exactly what it looks like for you. I've actually been on a little demonstration tenant for the last 4 or 5 months, and so some of mine is not exactly as it might look as of yesterday. So some of the terminology is a little bit different, so yours might look different. So basically it shows you I've got all these subscriptions here. I've got an E3 trial going, and then I've got the Business Cloud Voice. This is Cloud PBX. I've got the Business Advanced Meetings add-on, otherwise known as PSTN Conferencing. And I've also got business and domestic. I've got domestic and international calling plan on top of my E3. Okay, if I look at the licenses perspective of that, again, this is not exactly how yours will look, but there are, you've got E3, Cloud PBX, PSTN Calling, International, and Conferencing. Then it shows how many valid licenses I have, how many are expired, and how many have been assigned. Okay, this is a little bit of an anomaly here, but I've actually assigned PBX and calling plans. You can see that I've got 8 people here, so that should read 8. All right, so let's kind of take a look at what that looks like in control. So if I look over at the Skype for Business dashboard, which I've already got up here, you see the dashboard where we've got Skype for Business online users. I've got 10 of those. I've got 6 of them enabled for dial-in conferencing, and I've got 10 users in the cloud, and how many users have been synchronized or homed. This is a functionality of hybrid where I have users on-premise and users online. I can actually see which ones are synchronized and homed with another, homed online but synchronized with an on-premise system. Okay. If I look at the users, you'll see that these are the users that have been enabled for Skype for Business. Doesn't tell me the services they've been enabled for until I click on them. And you can see that over on the right side. Very similar to how this works in other areas. Okay, so if I go down here to the dial-in conferencing, you can see that here's all the dial-in access numbers for the dial-in service. So you can see I've got a couple numbers in LA, New York, Dallas, Chicago, but I've also got dial-in access from lots of places around the world. Okay, so I can actually choose which of this is my default location. Okay, I've chosen Los Angeles as my default. Now, these numbers will not be the same for every customer. They could be different, so don't assume they're the same. We do a dynamic allocation of the dial-in number and the PIN number, so that we can manage, so users can decide if they want to have static PIN or dynamic PINs. Okay, so if I look at, once I click on that, I do have some controls for that. That's the Microsoft Bridge setting up here at the top. If I go over to the actual bridge settings, I can control, hey, how do I want this to work for everyone? I still have the third-party provider controls, and then I have the users that are enabled for dial-in conferencing. So you'll start to see that even though they're enabled for Skype for Business, they're not necessarily enabled for dial-in conferencing. Okay, you can license it differently and you can assign them out differently. But if I want to do that and take Karen Berg and enable Karen, then I basically just go over here and edit her record. And you'll see that I pick the provider. That provider is going to be Microsoft. I pick which default number area location I want her to have. The unique thing is that maybe she's located in Costa Rica and that's where her business, or maybe she works on business and most of her customers are in Costa Rica. She can have a dial-in number as her default location in Costa Rica if she wants. But typically we would do that in the United States. So maybe I'll just go ahead and assign New York and hit save. And now she's enabled. So lots of other controls on an individual person basis. Okay. Okay, so if I go back here, that's a little bit about PSTN Conferencing. If I go back over to the portal here and go back to Skype for Business Administration, and let's go to the voice area. This is what the most interesting is I currently have a list in front of me of all the phone numbers that are in my possession from Microsoft. Okay, again, these could be numbers I ported over to Microsoft or numbers I selected from Microsoft. But these are all the phone numbers, and they've all been assigned. Okay, if I want to get another number, or maybe I want to add 5 more numbers, I can just click the plus sign, and let's say I want, I've got an office in Colorado, and in Denver, maybe I've got 5 people in a branch office. I'm going to say I want 5 numbers for Denver, and it's going to give me 5 numbers for Denver. Maybe I want to show those numbers. There they are. Let's say I want to get 5 numbers from Iowa. We're opening up a branch office in Iowa, and I need some numbers over there. So I'm going to select Sioux City, Iowa. Sounds like a good location for a new office. I'm going to put 3 people there. Okay, so now I've got 3 numbers in Sioux City, Iowa. Okay, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to acquire those numbers. It's going to pull those numbers and add them to my personal bank for my organization. Okay. Okay, I've acquired those numbers now. So I go back over here. I can look at these phone numbers and you'll see that I now have these numbers in my bank, but they're not assigned. So now I want to go over to the voice users and I'm going to take somebody that doesn't have a number, or I'm going to change their number. So let's say, for instance, Adam Mott. He is going to move to Sioux City, Iowa. So I'm going to go change his number to Sioux City, Iowa. Okay. The other thing is you'll notice that I have an emergency location address for Adam. Since he's moving to Sioux City, Iowa, I would want to change that location to the physical address he's going to be located in. Could be a home address, could be an office address, but it's super important that that address is there, and it's a requirement by law that everybody has a physical address. So we're going to force that to happen. Okay, so if you sign a new number, it's going to force you to type an address in. Okay, so I'm going to save that. Okay, so now Adam has got a Sioux City, Iowa number. So you start to get the picture. Emergency location numbers or addresses are also in a big database here. So I just have 4 addresses in here, but you would have a different address for every location in which you have a person located. So you can understand that this might get a little extensive if you've got people all over the country. I think the good part is there's a way to create the addresses in bulk. If you have an address list, you can upload that. Okay. If you have Active Directory synchronization, a lot of these addresses come right through into your core AD list. All right, port orders. Let's talk about port orders. This is how you port numbers from one carrier to another. I'm not going to demonstrate this, but you can understand that this is a rather high-touch, sensitive thing to do. So there's lots of instructions on how to do this. So it is an automated process, and there is approvals that has to happen, and so on and so forth. However, this has been automated, and there is a way to do this, but I'm not going to demonstrate it today because I don't have any phone numbers to port anywhere. As you might understand, it's going to move from one carrier to another, so carriers aren't really open to having this happen. However, by law, customers have the right to do this at any time for any reason, and carriers cannot block it. Okay? Doesn't mean your contract goes away with a carrier, but the phone numbers do, and so that's a very powerful thing to have happen. It's also very sensitive because once they move, and if you don't assign them right away, then they do go into nowhere, no man's land. So it's a big process for this, a big opportunity for partners to help out customers in all of this area. And again, there is scripting to allow this to happen in an automated fashion. Once the numbers are ported over, they can get assigned, but there is an orchestration that has to occur. Okay, so that's the demonstration. Lots more in here you can discover on your own. And with that, let's kind of go back to the presentation. Let me pull up the slides again. and we'll move on. Licensing. We got 15 minutes left, so we're gonna breeze through this. We got about 10 minutes to cover the licensing stuff. Okay, great. So PSTN Conferencing, where is it available? It is available for sale in 15 countries. The list of those is here. That is where customers can actually have their audio conferencing bridges located. They need to be on tenants in those countries. So if it's a customer that's in the US but they've got people outside the US, again, this is about where the users are homed. It's, so if it's a UK, this is a UK customer. If it's US, it's a US customer. Very similar to where you have to pick where your tenant is located. Over time, this will get more complex, where we can start tying data centers and tenants together from all over the world, but that's not something we can do today. So this is really about where the customer is based. Toll to dial in. This is all the dial-in locations from all over the world. These are local access. There can be local tolling that goes on because it could be a long-distance call. Basically, the user, wherever they're calling in from, would call the number that's closest to them. It does not mean it's toll-free. Okay. The other thing is that we are not going to market with toll-free access at all, even in the U.S. Okay, that'll come next quarter, hopefully. But basically, as you might expect, toll-free dial-in to a meeting, there is cost associated with that, and the customer bears the cost of that toll. So that means we have to bill more dollars to the customer for the toll-free dial-in. The other thing is, how do you dial out to an international person if you want to do dial out? We offer that as a domestic service at launch today, but not as an international service. That will come later as well, as soon as we can charge for that. You might understand that that's an individual connection-based charge for that particular call, and so there's some complexity there. We're just not ready to handle the billing for that yet. So the service goes out to the market with domestic dial out and domestic dial in, but not toll-free. Okay. Here's a chart that kind of goes into that, but basically the phone numbers appear for the dial-in locations from the invitation that's generated from Office 365 and Outlook or Outlook Online. This is where the phone numbers come from. So typically people that are not doing this today, they create an email invitation, they copy and paste in their dial-in information for their meeting, and they send their meeting request out. This is all integrated into Outlook. So when you say make this meeting a Skype meeting, the phone numbers come in automatically. Okay. In the past, this has been pretty basic, and it's all been IP-based audio. Now the dial-in numbers will be added in there if the user has been enabled for that. Okay, so how would this work in a multinational scenario? As I just discussed, the meetings would be scheduled here in the U.S. for a U.S. customer. They'd be scheduled in a U.S. data center. The phone numbers, the users, depending on where they're calling from, would either call in the U.S., they'd call a U.S. number. If they're in Japan, they would call their Japan number. Okay, if they're in a country where we don't have a dial-in access, they would dial the closest number, and the user person that's making the phone call, they pick up whatever toll is needed. And if they're in a country that doesn't have a number, then they're going to pay a little bit of an international call to dial into that. The idea is that since IP audio is prevalent in Skype for Business, that they won't need to do that. But if they do, there is some toll involved there. Okay, so I'll let you guys can read this for yourself, what the scenario is, but that's how it's going to work. If a customer is based in another country, like the UK, the same principle applies. It's just think about the UK as home versus the US as home. So it depends where the meeting is hosted, and it depends where the data center the customer is located in and where they purchased from. Okay, so PSTN calling, Domestic calls only in the domestic service plan. In the international service plan, it is both international and domestic. Okay. Usage for PSTN calling does have limits. Okay. It does have limits. The limit is 3,000 minutes per user per month, pooled at the tenant. Very similar to how storage works. If you have 100 users and they all enabled for PSTN calling, you're going to get 300,000 minutes pooled across the company. So some users will use more than 3,000 a month, some users will use far less. So it's all pooled. In the international calling plan, they also get an additional 600 minutes for international calls. If it goes over those limits, charges will apply. We have a crazy rate table. It's available online. It depends what country you're calling from and calling to, and it's a different per minute charge, and those are in excess of those pooled minutes. Okay, so domestic is $12, international is $24. That's always in addition to whatever base service there is for Cloud PBX. Cloud PBX is required for the calling plans. Can't make a call if you don't have the ability to actually connect it. So the calling plans are on top of Cloud PBX. Okay? There's lots of information on the detailed policies, so I don't want to cover that in detail. It's all available in the service plan descriptions that were posted over the last week. Consumption. This is what I just talked about. Basically, now the challenge here with consumption billing is that we don't have consumption billing turned on yet, so we're actually not going to charge for the overages just yet. However, reporting will be available to customers and notifications will be available to customers that lets them know how they're doing against the calling plan. So between now and consumption billing time, we are not charging, and we will, I don't believe we'll be retroactively charging for that as well. However, customers will be notified if they're going over their plans, so they can be prepared for that on how they need to budget for that in the future. All right, let's talk about cloud connectivity very quickly. As I talked about the hybrid and models before, there's a couple different ways this can happen. Since Office 365 is a cloud service and the public switched telephone network is also a separate network, think of it as its own cloud. And then you have the customer premises. They're all disconnected. The internet and the telephone network is in between. Customers will basically be able to connect to their premises through a cloud connectivity model. Okay, the cloud connectivity can either be Skype for Business servers, or they can be a Cloud Connector edition. That is not there's no charge for it. It comes with the Cloud PBX service. Again, Cloud PBX will give you the rights to do on-premise telephone connectivity. It does not give you the rights to the full Skype for Business server. That's a separate purchase if you need it. However, the cloud connectivity component is actually a set of virtual machines that are available for download. However, they're not available for download just yet. My understanding is there's a delay in that component, and that'll be available as soon as they can make it, as soon as they can validate it through the test preview customers. So expect that to come soon. But for the time being, the Skype for Business server is the only way to do this. Server rights. We just talked about this. If you have existing servers, okay, they need to be on Skype for Business Server Edition in order to connect to the Skype for Business service on Office 365. If you don't have the server, you'll need to purchase it or use the Cloud Connector virtual machines. Again, those will be out at some point in the future. Okay, so that's a whirlwind. I'm going to leave everybody with the last comment that says, in those 15 or so slides, there's hundreds of pages of detail. As you might expect, this is a complex service, and but I think there's an enormous opportunity for partners to get up to speed, specifically around online meetings. PSTN Conferencing, the return on the investment there for a customer is rather staggering. PSTN Conferencing is only $4 per user per month as a standalone service. You can, on a per minute basis with other carriers and other competitors, you can exceed that in a single phone call, but it's $4 per user per month in Office 365. So really, really, really good value proposition to start to use Skype for Business Online and add PSTN Conferencing and consolidate from other vendors and save the customer an enormous amount of money. I'll leave you with that and turn it over to Jenny about partner resources and offers.
Great, thank you, Skip. So with Office 365, we have a couple of different offers out there right now that I want to make sure that all of you are aware of. The first one is the Office 365 FY16 adoption offer. And what that provides customers with is the opportunity to get support building some active usage with Office 365 workloads, including Skype for Business, but not limited to it. This is available to our cloud productivity partners. Partners can earn up to $60,000 per seat, $60,000 per customer to support this. So next, I want to talk about a new offer that was just released on December 1st. So this one is the Office 365 FY16 Cloud PBX Adoption Offer. Now, what's unique about this one is if you are a partner that happens to have a communications competency and an Office 360 and a cloud productivity competency, you can submit for both of these offers. So what this means is that you can submit for up to $120,000 of partner funding to go deploy Cloud PBX and some of the other workloads within Office 365. So with this offer, how it works is partners can get $10,000 for the initial configuration of Cloud PBX and up to 50 users. Then to complete that deployment, there's a maximum offer funding of $60,000. Some of the deployment activities that are included in this can be a network assessment, configuring users, AD sync, and configuration of the cloud connector that Skip was talking about previously. So to learn more about these offers, you can go to the Fast Track portal, and I'll announce this and provide some links in the message stream so that you're able to see where to find more information about these offers. So next we're going to move on to just a few different partner resources and close it out with what's in it for you. So first with this, Skype for Business Online Academy. What this is a in-depth technical training of all of the new features that have come out with Skype for Business, Cloud PBX, PSTN Calling, PSTN Conferencing. Right now there is a live webcast scheduled for December 17th through 18th in the Americas. This has been hugely popular amongst partners, and if you haven't checked it out already, we recommend. If timing is a little tough around the holidays, we also have this posted for on-demand webcasts. And then also want to call out the Skype for Business video broadcast series. This is a series that is more focused on feeds and dives deep into each feature. So for instance, one of the past webcasts was iOS mobile and preview expansion and the meetings and developer platform. So recommend you check that out as well. Finally, I want to recommend the Microsoft Fast Track webcast that we have coming up on Monday, December 7th. And what this will follow is very specific detail on how to navigate the Fast Track portal. So if you're interested in submitting one of the offers that we just covered in the past, we recommend you attend this training as well. And then finally, for all of the technical questions you have, join the Office 365 Yammer Network and the Skype for Business IT Pro group. Post any miscellaneous questions that you have there if you can't find them in any of the resources. At the end of the section, we'll also post a comprehensive list of all the resources that are out there so that you can keep as a catalog for your reference later.
It's coming up.
And so finally, just want to quickly talk about partner opportunity. That the partner opportunity really exists across the life cycle, whether it's a network assessment or providing your customer with comprehensive managed services to drive adoption of the service. And then finally, we'll close this off with just final next steps of what we want you to do next. So next slide.
It's coming. Oops.
So finally, with this said, first we encourage you to explore some of the training capabilities that are available on Drumbeat, MBN, and also that Skype for Business Online Academy that exists. Great resources out there. Next, demo the modern collaboration capabilities with the E5 trial. At the end of this webcast, we'll provide a link with some details as to how to access that new trial. The key is that you do need to have an Office 365 demo tenant and then sign up for the trial separately to add on to your demo tenant. So we'll provide more information on that as well. And then finally, collaborate with other partners to deliver some of the new customer value that exists within the new capabilities of the Office 365 Enterprise E5 suite. If you have an opportunity for cloud voice, but you happen to see that there is also opportunity for some business intelligence work, this is a resource that you can use to find other partners that have unique capabilities that you can use to potentially subcontract in an opportunity. And with that, thanks for listening. Apologize for my whirlwind review of all of the resources, but just wanted to make sure that we covered that real quickly. I'm going to finally turn it over to Michael to close us out.
All right, well, thank you so much, both. That was great content, great information, and there may be one or two questions left in the queue, and we'll try to get to answer those, but we're going to go ahead and close out the recording. So please check out these resources. This is the Office 365 partner community, and we encourage you to sign up for the monthly newsletters and the calls, and check out our blog. And the Yammer group is a great way to be able to post additional questions that you may have and get answers. And remember, this is specifically for U.S. partners, and so we try to tailor that content for you. So again, thank you so much for joining today, and thank you to our presenters and those working behind the scenes to answer questions. And I'm going to turn this back over to Kim to close out the recording.
Thank you, Michael. Ladies and gentlemen, your feedback is important. We hope that you found today's information helpful. Please take a few minutes to let us know by completing a short survey. Please click on the messages button to find a link to the survey. And you can access the web conference recording via a link that will be delivered within 72 hours post-conference. And I'd like to extend a big thank you to our presenters, Michael, Skip, and Jenny. This concludes today's webcast. You may now disconnect.